Welcome to the next human. My name's Arav, and today I'm joined by Senna Joshi, who's a scientist at Roche Molecular Diagnostics. So thank you so much for being here today, Senna.
Of course, Sarah. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
All right. And yeah, I mean, so we can just get right into it. Basically, first thing is what is like your life story, kind of like what was your path to reach where you are today, scientist at Roche, it's a pretty big accomplishment.
Thank you. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I lived there until I was 18, and then I went to UC Davis for undergrad, where I studied biotechnology,
Mhm.
with a focus on human biotech and genetics and genomics. And that was a really interesting degree, very informative, very new, very cutting edge. And I graduated last year in 2022. And then as I started my job search, I was applying to Genentech in San Francisco, Roche over here in East Bay, and multiple other companies throughout the Bay Area. And then I landed up here and I'm studying respiratory illness here. So
Nice. I just noticed your background. Are you at work right now?
I am at work right now. I actually have some like studies going and I have an hour of break. So I
Oh,
figured that
nice.
would be a good time.
Perfect. All right, great. So yeah, I mean that's amazing. And like as far as like the field goes, like how did you first like get interested in this like field? Like was there like an
Okay.
inspiration or something or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of took a little bit of a pivot when it came to what I wanted to do career-wise. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to have a career in the science field, something that positively impacts people. And my grandfather, growing up, he's an anesthesiologist and a really good one. So he was kind of my inspiration, my beacon,
Hmm.
and someone I admired. So I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps and go to medical school. And then when I was in college, I started again in biotechnology. My major was originally biomedical engineering, and with that, I wanted to go to medical school and go down that route.
Uh-huh.
But late in college, I took a couple stem cell biology classes that had a lab base to them as well. And the lab component was so interesting to be able to look at cells and see them closely and be able to work with them themselves. I kind of pivoted and found research to be quite interesting.
Hmm.
So I figured medical school may not be for me, may not be the only path that you have to go down just because you started down that way. And then I switched kind of gears to research, and now I want to pursue a master's, maybe even a PhD in this sort of field, so molecular biology and that. So
So nice. I mean, you'd say like you kind of just got entranced by like the subject and like your
yeah,
your grandpa was like your inspiration into like the medical like field
into
and like
science in the
and
first
now
place.
into science. Exactly.
Exactly. So he was kind of what got me into the right area to realize what I actually like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, now that we're like, on the topic, like what is it that you're doing? And like, I guess like what do you like most about it?
Yeah, okay. So I at Roche here, it's a really big campus over here. We have a diagnostics. It's a
Mhm.
basically a big diagnostics unit, and within that we have research and development. I currently actually work in development. I was just kind of placed there when I first started working here. I do want to work my way towards research, but development is also really interesting.
Mhm.
Basically, what it is, it's like the second component of research. So after all the people in research do the molecular small work, development we basically fine tune the work. So what I work on is something called a LEOT. And what that is, it's like a little toaster sized device. And that it's a 4-in-1 assay, like COVID test, basically. So what it does is you insert a sample in there. It's a nasopharyngeal sample, just kind of like the COVID test we take at home.
Mhm.
And from that sample, it's only 200 microliters, which is a really, really small volume. And from that sample, it tests for four different viruses, and those viruses are flu A, flu B, COVID, and RSV. And
Mhm.
that's the project that I'm working on. But the LEOT itself, that device can test for a variety of other viruses and even bacteria. So there's
Mhm.
other sub teams, but I just work on the respiratory sub team. So the day to day is basically fine tuning the reagents that go into the LEOT tube,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And so we're just basically making sure that we can get the tests working as fast as possible. One cycle in one of those tests only takes 20 minutes, and it's 45 cycles of PCR, which is amazing. It's a very, very quick test. Some
Yeah.
only take 15 minutes. So it's really cutting edge work. It's really cool. And it's the first of its kind to ever be a 4-in-1 virus assay. So it's really exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
Did I
And
answer both your questions? You asked what I like most about it.
yeah, I mean, like I asked like what you liked most, and I think is there anything else you want to say about like the
I think,
work?
I mean, this kind of culture, I think working in science is really, really cool. Development is interesting because it's much farther along in the process than I'm used to. Like in college, I worked in labs where we started at the very, very baseline. We had
Mhm.
no idea what exactly we were looking for. You're doing research at a very molecular level, a very elementary level, and you don't even know what you're looking for. Whereas here, we know exactly what we're looking for. In development, you're just fine-tuning something that already exists,
Mhm.
dotting your I's and crossing your T's or whatever. You're doing exactly what you know already works. So I do think it's interesting. It gets a little monotonous, but in a good way because you know exactly that the product that you're going to sell, that you're going to give to, we're going to sell at doctors' offices, airports, and like big, big spaces so that it's widely accessible. So you know that your product is going to work and that it's going to help people. So I think that's really an interesting
Yeah.
fact.
And I think it's really cool because like you're literally like on the like cutting edge of like new things and you're like part of the process.
That's
And
true. Yeah, it's great. It's kind of surreal to think about. It's very cool. The company as a whole is doing a lot of things that are
Mhm.
great. Most companies actually are doing a lot of cutting edge things. So great.
And I mean like for I guess like your future, like what do you kind of I know you're saying you are planning to go like get your master's, but
Yeah.
like kind of near future plus this and like kind of what's your plan?
So I was thinking, I'm hoping, unfortunately, with science right now, just a bachelor's degree won't really cut it if you want to work your way up. If you ever
Mhm.
want more kind of control over what you're studying or what you're researching, you usually do need a secondary degree,
Yeah.
which is like a master's and MS of some sort, or an MBA if you want to go down the business route. I'm hoping to get an MS. I'm hoping either stem cell biology, molecular biology, or even clinical research was something I was considering because patient interaction is still something that's somewhat interesting to me.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm hoping to get a master's in one of those three things. And then hopefully after that, you get a little bit more of a choice of what kind of stuff you want to research. And my primary interest is stem cells and stem cell proliferation and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping to get obtain a master's in that, and then work for a company or a project where I can kind of explore that.
Nice. Yeah, I mean I think like the just like development field in general, like it's like they're doing amazing stuff, but it's also like a lot of people get like put off because of just how much work it is. And like it's necessary because this type of work involves like a lot of specialty and like there's very small room for error. Um
Right, right.
and
Very
so yeah,
meticulous.
but
True.
I mean yeah, like clearly you're very like dedicated and just in love with it. So
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I think, if you're just starting off in the science field, there's many other things. I think development is great for people who have been here for quite a while, people who have
mhm,
been in the field for a while, because you're used to a routine and you want a routine. And you don't quite get overworked per se. It's like you have a very strict schedule. Everything is very methodical, and it's easy to follow a pattern. But if you kind of want something that challenges you, something to think about, like there's a lot more that you could do in the science field, which is great.
mhm. And I mean like obviously like when you're in school and stuff like you're doing like uh I'm sure I mean you're doing stuff like you're in action, but I'm sure you must be learning a lot of like theoretical stuff and too. So I mean like
Yeah.
do you like what do you enjoy more, like the hands-on like kind of like the stuff you're doing now, or like kind of like by the book and like just kind of like learning about the subject in general, or just
Definitely.
like both?
Yeah, definitely hands. I mean, learning in a book is always it's interesting, especially if it's a topic that you like, but you're never gonna fully understand until you actually do it yourself. And
Mhm.
you'll see that once you reach college too, and even in high school, I'm sure you've seen it where, you learn something in chemistry class and you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I kind of get it. And then
Mhm.
you do the experiment and you're like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like I can see it now. right? Like once you're actually putting, you're putting elements together, you're putting things together, mixing things up, things bubble, they blow up, whatever. It
Mhm.
makes so much more sense once you actually see it in action.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool about working here now. I'm like, oh, I remember learning about this concept in school. And, I went to school during in college was during the COVID age. So a
Yeah.
lot of my classes, I didn't even get to go to the labs.
Mm.
And so it's like I did only learn that through a Zoom screen, right? And then now I actually get to apply that learning. So that's a really nice thing.
That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, sounds like you have pretty much no complaints and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, okay, great. So I mean, yeah, is there like kind of one piece of advice that you'd give to like, high schoolers or pretty much just anyone trying to like get into like science and biotech?
It's a good question. There's just one piece of advice I'd say, like stay curious. I think
Mhm.
use your high school years as an opportunity to kind of explore the various subjects and topics that genuinely interest you,
Mhm.
and just kind of like cultivate this sense of curiosity and be open to learning about diverse fields. Because, like I told you, I wanted to be in medicine, and now, I switched career paths. So when you're younger, you're under this common disillusion that everyone has to know exactly what they want to do by the time they get to college. But that
Mhm.
just isn't true, right? You're in that stage right now where you feel like, oh, I have to pick a major, I have to pick this, and that's going to determine what I do for the rest of my life. But many people only discover their passions in college themselves. Sometimes people only discover it far beyond that. So
Mhm.
I just kind of encourage you to participate, in clubs, reach out to your teachers or professionals in fields that interest you, like you're doing right now. You interview several people within this field. You can kind of see a career that you would have never thought to pursue.
Mhm.
And just stay persistent and embrace failure too, as an opportunity to learn. There's no correct timeline and very rarely a black and white answer. That's, one thing that I like about science is that it encourages you to explore the gray area.
Mhm.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it I have today.
Well,
So, yeah, thanks for being here again.
awesome.
And
Thank you so much for your
yeah,
time. I'm so excited. This podcast is awesome.
yeah, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great talking to you. Thanks, Senna.